What's up, y'all? It's your boy Dab Daniel on the Black Evolution. Welcome here, welcome. I got a very special guest. She's a music producer. She's an entrepreneur. She's a businesswoman. Black Elite. Give it up for Brown Sugar Productions in the building. How you doing, sister? We good, we good. I'm good. So we're gonna talk about one topic that's very special. It's gonna be about black music affecting black culture. So before we get into that though, talk about a little bit about what you do for a living in terms of music beats and how you're affecting the movement.
Well, I'm a female music producer. I go by the name of Brown Sugar Productions. And I always wanted to do music since I was a kid. I feel like it stemmed from my dad and my granddad. And I feel like me being a female music producer is something huge, right? Like, I feel like a lot of women look up to me, girls look up to me. So I feel like of women in this male-dominated industry, and I just feel like this is pretty much like my gift. You know what I mean? Stand up for women, stand up for girls in this male-dominated industry, and just let it be known that whatever it is, you can do it. I never seen that many females take control in this business and produce more so in this business. So I've always been that girl that likes to stand out, do shit differently, do things differently. So yeah, that's pretty much my outlook. Yeah, I feel like this is like my passion,
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, like, when it comes to the name brand Brown Sugar Production, how did you come up with that? That's a really unique title.
Yeah, actually it is. So like my great aunt, rest in peace to her, my great aunt Gladys, she used to call me like Brown Sugar so much when I was a kid. Like that was like her little nickname to me. And then I remember I was probably like 13 or 14, and this is around the time I was just starting to get into beats and get into making beats. And one day she was on the phone with my grandma, and she was like, "Tell Brown Sugar I said hey." And then I was like, "Ooh," like something just clicked. I was like, I think I should use that name, you know what I mean, like for my brand. And, ironically, a lot of people think I made this name up or just created this name or it's just like some random ass name. But a lot of things that happen to me, most of it is like some meant to be shit, you know what I mean? So I'm not really the type of person that makes a lot of shit up. So Brown Sugar really came from her, you know what I mean? Rest in peace to her, man. That name came from her for sure.
That's good. That's good. I mean, yeah, that's really deep. That's unique because a lot of times people when they say, "Oh, I came up with this how this happened," I had an idea popped up in my head, but it's like, "Oh, a family member described that to you and called you that for decades, and then it just clicked in your head." I'm like, "Wow, that's very moving to me and everything. That's brilliant." And I was looking at your website a little bit, and I saw some nice beats and stuff, and then you got all these connotations and stuff. Like, hey, you pay $100 for this and stuff. So okay, all right, you doing business moves and stuff. That's cool. That's cool. So like, in terms of black music affecting the black culture and the black movements in general, how do you feel that the music has shaped our culture in a positive or negative way?
Oh, a whole lot. You know what? It's a little bit of both, but the music and the music industry and popular music and hip hop and R&B, our music is really what drives the culture. Like really, like you listen to a song or you listen to something new, right? You listen to a song that's popping and certain shit that they're saying in the song, you'll take that line and now everybody walking around saying this and saying that because they got this from this music or even this music artist, the way they're dressed. Like you'll see them dressed in a certain type of way. Now you have regular kids walking around wearing that outfit or wearing those shoes or wearing those jeans in a certain way. It's because of the influence on the culture from the music. So the music has 100% a full on everything that we all do. You know what I mean? Even the style of music, like for instance, like Migos. When the niggas came in, that transition of the style of rapping, the style of flowing, the ad libs, the style of beats, like all of that had a huge influence on the culture. That's why they named their albums Culture. You know what I mean? Because they understand the influence that they have on us. So yeah, when it comes to culture and shit like that, music is fully 100%. You know, what I mean, we're driven off of that for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. How we're driven by the music culture, and I would say we're both driven in a positive way. How it affects us trendsetter wise, but also in a negative way. You got things such as different types of rap. There's positive rap like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. There's also negative rap where it's called the trap, where it just talks about nothing but crime and calling women bitches and hoes and sluts and talking about I'll rob a nigga, I'll kill a nigga, I'll shoot a nigga and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that has a negative effect on the culture because then you got people trying to justify killing us through our music. And I'm like, wow, they call it the thug culture. I'm like, that's terrible. But it goes to show you how music can affect us both in the positive way and the negative way in terms of a brand, the style, and how it affects us in terms of like our movements and how we dress, how we walk, how we talk, how we say certain things. So like
man, all of that, yeah. You see it.
Yeah. Also, let's talk about how the black music affects the move. It's also not just the regular industry, but the movie industry too. And TV shows, you got TV shows like such as Empire and stuff that's built off of the music industry.
Yeah, and then you have individuals like 50 Cent who started in the music industry and has transitioned to these TV shows and working with stars and doing Power and everything, BMF. And that man is huge. Yep. What he's doing now, and I feel like that's something that he always knew that he would do. I think he may have used music to get into the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And knew that he would transition his way into being this real mogul entrepreneur. And now with him doing what he's doing, you got a lot of kids that look up to that man. Even a lot of people that right now that you could make considered celebrities, they're looking up to him like, man, I can do this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And even in his shows, he has these music celebrities, these artists that are now actors and actresses in his shows, and that shit is huge for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's all a gateway, you know what I mean? Everything is a gateway. And sometimes, most of the time, a lot of this shit is bigger than the music. A lot of people got real struggles going on in their lives, and this music shit just is a gateway and an outlet to getting them out of the hood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out of the scenarios that they're in, out of the drama. You know what I mean? Out of jail and shit like that.
Yeah. Most definitely. And also, he talks about how it also kind of affected not only that, but just in how we walk, how we talk, but also in terms of the dating scene too. You have musical artists like Cardi B and the City Girls affecting how certain particular females walk, talk, and act and everything when it comes to niggas. Talking about these niggas ain't nothing. They ain't gonna be nothing. Get the bag. Claim the bag now. And stuff.
And about that, I love the City Girls. I love Cardi. I love Nicki. I love Megan. I love these women, but what a lot of people don't understand is they're not trying to turn a female into a different type of person. What they want you to do is like the teacher. From a female's perspective, when you listen to this music and their albums, they talking that shit, but they're pretty much telling you how to do you, but make sure you get it. Period. Don't never let a nigga fuck you over. Never let a nigga think he gonna get something from you without receiving anything. Like they're not trying to change you and turn you into a certain type of person. That one, they're telling their life story of what they've been through and how they operate and how they move. Then they also like get your money, sis. You know what I mean? Like, don't never get your money, do your thing. This how you boss up on a nigga. This how, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but don't you think that's going to have a negative effect on the dating scene? Because You know, you got some people who take that to heart, who take what they say to heart, and then they go around treating every dude like that, and then it's gonna have a negative connotation.
It can to a certain type of person as well. If you're a person that don't really have, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, if you don't have enough value for yourself, if you don't know yourself, if you have low self-esteem, if you deal with insecurities and shit like that, then yeah, you gonna listen to that shit and you gonna turn over. That's pretty much what I'm saying. You gonna turn into a whole other female.
Yeah.
You're a whole other person up. You're listening to this music and you're already unsure about who you are. So you're allowing this music to change you, and you're thinking that this is totally the way to go, when most of the time it's not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a person like me, I know who I am. I know where I come from. I know who I want to be. I know what type of relationship I want to be in. I know where I see my future being. Not who, but you know what I mean? I know I have a vision for my future, and I manifest shit. So when I listen to this music, I'm like, shit, she's just telling me to just make sure whatever I do, hear it, get the money, don't never let a nigga feel like he can play me. That's how I take from it. But yeah, the negative aspect is what you're saying. A lot of females that may not have that mindset like me and don't know which route to take. Yeah, they may look at that shit and they gonna turn themselves into a JT. Now they walking around, they acting just like JT because they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of shit they got going on within themselves that they don't even know how to just take from what she's saying and incorporate it into themselves. They just totally switching over, which is not the best thing to do, clearly.
Yeah, and also when it comes to these artists and stuff, I listen to interviews and stuff, and I can tell from the interviews, half of them don't even really want to produce this music about wet ass pussy and everything else, but they're doing it because either the execs are making them do it, or because the fan base wants them and cheering that on. So people also, I see people, yeah, the producers, they're saying, hey, you're gonna make a whole lot of money if you produce music such as this and everything, and you're gonna do all this stuff. So I've seen in interviews and stuff like that. So people who are taking this to heart understand that they're not even living what they even saying. Like Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, they all got boyfriends and stuff like that. They got loyal relationships, but they telling you to go out there and screw up a nigga and get the bag and use a nigga for money and chase all this money and stuff like that and this status and use a nigga. And it's like they got whole dudes that they got relationships and stuff. So it's just like, yeah. So I tell people they don't take it to heart. Don't take it too serious.
Never take it too seriously. I heard an interview that Meg did a while ago. She was like, I don't even have time to do half the shit I be rapping about. I be working. I think it was right before the pandemic. She was like, I got shows after shows. I don't even have time to be fucking on a nigga every day, all day. You know, but that may be some shit she's saying in her music, but like you just saying, they don't know that. If they listening to it and they hearing her, they thinking that's what she doing. Nah. The people gotta understand a lot of this shit is entertainment. So I'm not saying what she's rapping about isn't true. Like, it could be a certain period of her life where she was dealing with a certain dude and she's rapping about that, but that doesn't mean that's what she's going through today or that's what she's doing today. It's just past experiences that she's had written down that now she's putting in her music and incorporating into the music. So yeah, I get you 100% on that. And then that stems also to where we're listening to a lot of these rock male artists and they're talking about shooting and doing all this shit. It's like the same thing. These young guys are out here listening to that and they thinking that shit cool.
Yeah, I shoot a nigga, I rob a nigga, I kill a nigga and take his money and then F his bitch and then beat her up and stuff. I'm like, yo.
Some niggas ain't doing none of that shit they rapping about. That shit is entertainment. It just rhymes on the beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That should be cap.
I remember one time I listened to 2 Chainz and Drake, and no lie, and 2 Chainz had a segment in there. I take a girl and kidnap her and feed her to my mattress, and I'm like, I go look in my closet, is these dead ass rappers. I said, oh, it's hard, but I'm like, it's entertainment. There's no way if he do that, you going to jail.
He's not gonna do that. It's just entertainment. A lot of people don't. They know they're being entertained came by, but they're taking it too far. They're like you're saying, they're taking it to heart. Just don't take it to heart. It's just entertainment.
Yeah.
It's just words being put together that rhymes, that flows with rhythm on a beat. Period.
Yep, that's all it is, and they're making money off of it. And also, we can talk about how the black music affected not only that industry in the movie industry, the music industry, but also like the movements, like with Black Lives Matter and stuff. Because if you recall back in 2020 with the George Floyd incident, everybody was protesting. You had a famous group, Public Enemy, where they rapped in the 1980s. They came back and redid the song to address the movement and everything going on. So what's your thoughts on how hip hop was shaping the movement back then in the 80s and the 60s and stuff, and how it's shaping it now?
Oh yeah, it's just a continuation. Like we've been talking about that since hip hop came out, because it's like a freedom of speech. You know what I mean? This is what hip hop is. It's freedom of speech. It's an expression. Like you're getting it out. You're letting it all out on this music. You're letting it be known how you feeling about what you're seeing, what's going on, and what's happening to you, and people that look like you, and your family members, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts. And then you got people like even this shit Lil Baby did, that song he dropped. You know what I mean? That shit was important, and that shit was huge for hip hop. It was just so huge for him to have that bravery, and he's so talented the way he just put his words together and just make that shit sound so good. But then he's talking about some real shit. Every time I hear that song, I can't even think of the name of the song right now. I know you know which one I'm talking about though, but
Yeah.
the name of it. But every time I hear it, I get goosebumps. It's like, damn, like this nigga just speaking the truth. He really speaking that shit. But yeah, as far as that, man, this has always been our freedom of speech. Even music, even comedy. People like Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a freedom of speech thing. You can't tell us we can't say this. You know what I mean? You can never tell us we can't say this or say that or speak on this or speak on that. This is our freedom of speech.
Exactly. Speaking of Dave Chappelle, he's going through it right now. They trying to attack against him once again because of his jokes and stuff. And I'm like, he's a comedian. This is what he does. Like, you can't just take that away. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, he's saying stuff about transgender people. First of all, have you watched the show? He wasn't saying anything about transgender people. He said about Caitlyn Jenner how she's getting more rewards than the actual women in Detroit. And of course, it's a joke. It's funny. It's not going against transgender people. And he said it in the show. He doesn't even hate transgender people. Like, I don't understand what people don't understand. Like, plus it's a joke. Take it with a grain of salt.
Exactly. You're right, Daniel. And then the thing is, it's like for some reason everybody's just become year after year. Everybody's becoming so much more sensitive.
Exactly.
And it's making it hard because back in the day, Dave Chappelle would say anything, and they understand he's a comedian, so they just laugh. Yeah. Nowadays, the shit is taken to heart. It's a problem with that. It's like he's never going to stop being him. And he sees that back in the day, shit was different from nowadays. Nowadays, like, you gotta watch what you say. Nah, it was never like that for comedians. Comedians can get on that stage and say any fucking thing. That was their outlet. You know what I mean? You can't take their outlet away from them. And I don't understand where this sensitivity stems from nowadays. It's just like everybody's so fucking sensitive.
Yeah, I'm like, my thing is. Yeah, my thing is how we grew up watching Family Guy and American Dad and all these cartoons that just poke fun at stuff. You got all these comedians. Now you got everybody want to be sensitive and stuff. I'm just like, these shows would basically be funny because they would make fun at certain things in society and stuff. And now everybody getting offensive, or I'm like, at the slightest thing. Like, people don't know what a joke is. People don't kick. They get mad. They get mad at certain things. I'm like, come on now.
It's crazy. And I'll be honest with you, it kind of scares me for when those moments come when I'll actually become a huge figure in this music industry. I'm just at the point like, do I just like not say much because I listen to these interviews and these podcasts and Breakfast Club a lot, and how they even talk about it. It's like you were never satisfied with people. People was always going to find something wrong with what you said. They'll find something wrong with how you wore this outfit, how you went about doing this. Like, and it's like people don't understand. And this is something I already understand. These celebrities, they're still human. They are regular people. At the end of the day, they just have a huge lump sum of money.
Exactly.
That's all that shit is. It's no different. They just have a lot more money than the average person, but they are fucking human beings. They have feelings as well. They have the right to express their feelings as well. And the people say they have this huge platform. That is very true. But everybody's not built to be a leader.
Yeah.
Or a role model.
Exactly.
Everybody's not built for that. Just because they have money don't mean they were automatically supposed to be this role model. That shit is not true.
Yeah, you had somebody like Lil Nas X on the Breakfast Club. I watched him the other day, and they asked him that exact same question. He's like, "Yeah, you can look at me as a role model, but I said I don't care about those kids. In fact, he said, fuck your kids. Like he's like, hey, listen, I'm not a role model. Stop looking to us as role models. Like basically, I think what he's saying was basically like raise your kids. Like stop looking at the celebrities as like these role models and everything else. You should look up to them. You should aspire to be them. They're just, like you said, they're human beings with a bunch of money. That's it. They're not gods. They're not larger than life people. They are people with a whole bunch of money, and they have some sort of influence. But other than that, that's it.
And that's it. And I think that's what people have to begin to understand. That's just all it is. The only reason they're even looking up to them is because of the money in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then but it's that people have to also show their children that you you like he's saying, they're not role models. That's not what they're here to do. They are here to be entertainers and express their feelings through their music. And put great music out and put great content out and move on. They're not here to, and that's one of the things that he's been saying. They're not here to put out music for children. Cardi B has said that as well. But it's like an iffy thing with that. It's like you know that you're not making this music for children, but then you also have to put into consideration that if you want your song on the radio, these kids are listening to your music, period.
Yep.
That's all these kids do is listen to the radio. And when there's, you got homecoming and shit like that, even for, even the shit they do at the kids with the little school, with elementary schools and middle schools and shit like that, they're going to bring in the DJ, and the DJ is going to play the hottest music on the radio. And the kids are going to recite those lyrics.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. So it's like, you're not making the music for the children. I'm not telling you to make music for children, but you got to put into consideration that these kids are listening to your music as well.
Yeah.
So if you don't want them to recite or listen to your shit, be mindful of the singles that you choose for radio.
Yep.
And then everything else is on the album, because the kids may not even really have access
to the album.
Unless the parents are, but they gonna listen to that shit on the radio for sure if it's playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing with the whole music industry, and also the Grammy Awards and stuff. We can talk about how, like, hey, you're saying you're not producing music for children, but then also the Grammy Awards. A lot of people watch the Grammy Awards, including kids. What's the kid gonna see, when Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion do this basically sexual position live on air? And I'm like, hey, that's going a little bit too far now. I understand you promoting the song or whatever, but like, yo, kids are watching. That's all I'm saying. Like, you gotta be mindful of that, like you said, and just like, hey, listen, kids are watching, and they see that, and it's like they just trying to listen to the artist. Yeah, they just trying to listen to the artist.
I watched the BET Awards this past Tuesday, right? And then I noticed, I think Cardi and Megan, they won. I think that song WAP won Hip Hop Song of the Year, and it also got Video of the Year. And I was having a conversation with someone about that song. I'm like, listen, this is what has been chosen. This shit is hip hop song of the year.
Yep.
According to BET. So in my mind, it's like, well, when Cardi did this song, I guess she knew she knew the effect this song would take on the culture and on hip hop. I think she knew that the shit would go as big as it did. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, she knew the video would get millions of views. She knew she would win awards for this shit. She just knew it in some way. But in a way, it's like, I don't know, man. It's just, it's no different from Lil Nas X either to me, kinda. Because even with him, when he's on stage and he's kissing and shit,
yeah,
like
kissing a man on TV, I'm like, yo, come on, nobody cares if you gay, but like, you gotta be mindful. Kids are watching, man. Like,
yeah.
and then he's like, he don't care. He said for hooray gay agenda. I'm like, oh god.
Mm-hmm. And remember, his response to that was what? Don't let your kids watch TV or some stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, nigga, come on now. You don't have to exploit your sexuality that much. And that's not being sexist. That goes for him. That goes for men and women. That goes for everybody. You don't have to exploit it that much. Like,
yeah.
I just feel like that is just very different because it's like you got little boys that was watching this. Like, come on, man. And you got little boys that their brains aren't developed yet to see or to make certain decisions and say, hey, this isn't cool. Like, somebody like, hey, well, if I'm watching this and I'm seeing this, maybe this is cool. Maybe this is something that I should be doing. Like, it's kids, literally kids. I'm talking about 4 and 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds that are out here that's watching this shit. And in their mind, they may not say anything, but they may be looking at this and may get ideas from seeing this type of shit. Like, that shit is not okay.
Yeah.
It's just not okay.
The child doesn't have puberty until 12. So, like, my thing is, like, they're not even fully developed. At 12, that's when you get puberty. That's when all the hormones be raging and stuff like that. And you know who you starting to figure out, hey, what type of people that you like that. But if you at a young age, you haven't really made that decision yet. And I feel like a lot of these people are forcing the gay decision to be on these kids. And also, going sidetrack a little bit, you got some of these NBA players, you know, forcing that decision. You know, you got Russell Westbrook wearing a dress and stuff. And I'm like, my thing is, you an athlete. Why are you wearing a dress and you're not even gay? Like, that's my thing. You're not even gay. You just doing it just to get attention. I'm like, yo, come on now. Nobody cares you want to get into the elite fashion club. Like, yo, bro, you're not even gay. I can see if you were gay, you doing that, but you're not even gay. Like, come on now. But I'm saying people are watching. Like, you gotta know your audience.
That's the thing. And that's the thing they gotta understand. No, you're not a role model. You don't want to be, but understand that you have millions of people watching you. Period. That's just what it is. Period.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think we discussed like everything we want to discuss. I mean, especially of course when it comes to Black history and the Black culture, we got all these different movements. You had Wu-Tang Clan and the 5 Percenters. They introduced the 5 Percenters to the world and stuff in our movements. And then you got Kendrick Lamar, and then how that ties in with the Hebrew Israelites and stuff. And how do you think that affects, like, you know, our mindsets when it comes to like certain religious sects within our community and stuff?
As far as what?
As far as music. So you have the Black culture affecting music, affecting religion, because I think that's the last question I want to talk about, because you have a lot of these artists like Kendrick Lamar, who recently he's associated with the Hebrew Israelite movement, and then you got the Wu-Tang Clan associated with the 5 Percenters. We're not really associated with them, but bringing that onto the stage and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of that definitely stems from what they've got going on, like personally, like outside of music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's something that they're building their faith upon outside of music, and then there's so much into that religion that they bring it into the music. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's how that goes. Then I think when it's dealing with, shit like that, it's pretty much whoever attracts that. So if I'm a person that is of that faith and religion and I see Kendrick Lamar singing or rapping about it, I'm going to be in tune all the way. You know what I mean? And then you may have people that may look into that and may study that because they see this big artist, Kendrick, or, whoever, Wu-Tang, and they're praising this religion. And now that opens up doors for them for, to explore different religions and shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look at it kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with the religions, but I just go back to what we were saying all along, how black music affects our culture, our way of life, the industry, and the religion as well. So, yeah, I mean, that's just basically overall what I want to talk to you about and everything. So, what are your final thoughts on the black culture as a whole being affected by music?
I feel like in some ways, honestly, we are we're not going in the best direction. Because you can see the total difference from hip hop in the 90s and hip hop now in the 2020s and shit. Like, the context of what they're rapping about, the flow, like, to be honest with it, and I may sound like an old head saying this shit, but some of these songs, some of these artists, I don't know what the fuck they saying. It's just like they're slurring and you don't know what the fuck they saying. This shit is so auto-tune driven, and you got artists that consider themselves singers, but then they can't sing without the auto-tune. It's kind of like we have had this, we've been blessed with social media and the internet so much that the amount of work that a lot of these artists say they put in back in the day, that shit wouldn't have slid. You see what I mean? Like, people like DJ Khaled, that nigga really had to be out there in the streets and really out there in space to get his shit out there. You had to know who he was because you seen him around.
Yeah.
Nowadays, all you gotta do is post some shit on the internet and that shit'll exploit. And you boom, and you popping.
Yep.
It was never that easy back then. So I feel like the reasoning why a lot of this music, not all of it, but a lot of this music sounds lazy as fuck, it's because of that. It's because they ain't really have to put in that much work. They ain't really have to put in that much work. And a lot of the fucking artists, like, that really be making it and shit, it'd be so many people that's so much more talented that's just not in the limelight that deserve that spotlight. If you get what I mean.
I'm saying, yeah. I mean, when it comes to the culture as a whole, I feel like a lot of times this music has become weak and soft and lazy is because, like you said, auto-tune, the mumble rap era, you got Kodak Black and everything. It comes like, Kodak ain't like to see you winning. They want to see you in. Like, when I first saw him, I'm like, what? I can barely understand what he's saying. How he goes super fast, the auto tune. I'm just like, or it's the same thing when it comes to the male rappers, like, shoot a nigga, kill a nigga. Yeah, the woman suck on my dick. Yeah, she gives all these orgies and sex and stuff. And yeah, and I'm just like, okay, can you do something else? Like, come up with some positive rap.
Exactly, and it's like we have to thank God for the artists like the Kendricks and the Drakes and the J. Coles and the Isaiah Rashad. There's so many to name right now. We gotta thank God for these artists because those are the ones that are the conscious ones and the ones that are kind of keeping this shit going as far as hip hop is concerned. We're not even talking about trap really. We talking about hip hop as a whole. These are the artists that are really keeping this shit stable and going and keeping it alive almost. Because if it was up to the mumble rap shit, we already kind of going downhill. I'm not saying all of it, but in this perspective, we going downhill with shit like that. But when it comes to J. Cole and them, they kind of really keeping this shit how it should be.
Yeah.
And even with me, and this is my first time ever watching the BET Hip Hop Awards and just being not satisfied. Like, I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you've seen that awards.
I barely watch it. I barely watched it. I ain't even watch it. I ain't gonna lie.
This was the first time I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, the ciphers, I was so disappointed. Because, like, you can see the difference in the cipher 5 years ago versus the ciphers today. The energy was low. Them niggas ain't had no energy. I'm like, y'all niggas could have. You already was writing something for the cipher. It's like you had to come off the top of the head for real, freestyle. They already gave them time to write they shit. The shit was like bullshit. You know what I mean? Like the context of what they was rapping about was some trash. Their energy was some trash. It was probably a good 3 of them that are out of all the ciphers that I was like, okay, they delivering. They giving that energy. They giving what they need to be giving. They talking about some shit. They saying something. You know what I mean? They standing out. They showing that this is what they really want. Some of them other artists, man, they was on bullshit. They was some ass. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to people like me as well, I know that once I make my mark and when I really get out there, I will be the person or one of the people that are actually strive to keep this industry going in the right direction. You know, I just feel like that definitely has to be known because I'm a bold woman. And you have to be bold in this industry, especially this male-dominated industry. I have to be bold. And I'm the type of person that's going to speak my mind. Period. Like, you can almost consider me a female Diddy. You can, but then you can't. Because I ain't stealing people's shit. But I ain't stealing people's shit. I'm actually the producer that's really hands-on playing the instruments and shit. I ain't really just telling niggas do this, do that, take this, nah. Like, I'm really a hands-on producer, but then I'm also a Diddy in the way where I'm speaking my mind. You gonna know how I feel about this. You gonna know if I like it, you gonna know if I don't like it. Period.
That's good. That's good. We need more people like you that keep it real and speak about us and speak for us and speak for the culture and everything. That's what we need. I just want to say it's been a pleasure having you, Brown Sugar Productions. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Yeah. Support the Black Evolution. Make sure you tune in to more of the podcast. Tell my audience, support Brown Sugar Productions. Listen to a beat and everything. Go on Instagram, Brown Sugar Productions. And this is Black Evolution. This is Dab Daniel. We signing off. Listen to this outro music. Hey.